Welcome back, everybody, to the next episode of Zap's podcast. Thank you all for tuning in this week. We're running it solo. As you can see, episode 25. I think this will be the second last episode for this year until we move over to the new year of 2024. Let's go. And this is actually kind of a special ep because this is around the time that I started the podcast, or I released my first episode. So it's a little bit after. I'm recording on the 2nd of December, 2023. My first episode that I released was on November 28th, 2022. So very exciting times. It's been a wild ride so far, but I'm really enjoying doing it and I don't see myself stopping anytime soon. So, actually I want to ask you guys, I was thinking about this in the car today as I was driving, thinking about what I'm going to be talking about on the podcast. And for those who do listen to, or who listen to the episodes on Spotify, or who watch the episodes on YouTube, or who even listen on iTunes or whatever platform that I've released on, because there's quite a few, I'd love to hear some feedback on what you think I could do to improve my content. I'd love to hear from anybody. You can just, hit me up on my Instagram, hit me up on TikTok, or I don't know if TikTok does DMs or anything like that, but hit me up on Instagram. If you're a friend and you've got me on Facebook, shoot me a message, go on Messenger and whatever. I'd love to hear some feedback about how I can improve my content going down into the future. Now, let's get into this week's episode. So I've got a few interesting topics that I want to talk about. So I'll just kind of do a bit of dot points and we'll go through them. So recently, I talked about piralutamide, which is a hair loss drug. I talked about that in my, I think my second solo episode. I can't remember exactly which episode that was, where I spoke about piralutamide, and I think I touched on phase 2 trials, but the phase 3 trials just got released. So yeah, we're going to kind of touch on that. It's not exactly the best news for people like me who are losing their hair. So there's that. There is the Reddit stories. So I went down a rabbit hole and there's some funny ass stories that I think I want to just kind of touch on. I had my Christmas party last night and there was a hot debate topic that we're going to get into. And maybe I might end it with the 2023 recap of, what I've gone through throughout the whole year. And, it's actually been a very good year so far. So anyway, let's get straight into it. So piralutamide, which is a hair loss drug that's going through sort of the NDA process to try and, become a staple in part of the hair loss, well, trying to combat against hair loss, in particular androgenic alopecia, which is slowly thinning of hair. Mainly males have it, females do have it. But anyway, by the way, I'm not a doctor. I am not a medical professional. So if you're looking for any information, please go talk to a doctor. I'm just doing all this for entertainment purposes. I find this topic very, very interesting, and that's why I'm talking about it on the podcast. But if you are looking for advice, I don't provide any advice. Please go see a doctor. Now, the phase 3 clinical trials for piralutamide this was the paragraph that they spoke about the results. And it says, quote, "The results show that the overall safety of the trial was good, with KX826, which is piralutamide, demonstrating excellent safety profile and no serious events was reported. An event after 24 weeks of treatment. TAHC of the treatment group showed that KX826 promoted hair growth compared to baseline with statistical significance P over 0.0001. Compared with placed, there was I think I might have butchered this. There was a TAHC improvement at all visit points in KX826 group with no statistical significance, but a trend in efficacy was absorbed." Now, I think I absolutely butchered this, so I'm going to put kind of the paragraph at the bottom of this video. And, from what I've read, so a lot of this information the breakdown for the results I got from this guy called Kevin from Hair Cafe. He does a lot of breakdowns with hair loss. He talks about, finasteride. He's talking about all new drugs, piralutamide being one of them. And he provides, kind of his insight into possibly the reasons why this result has possibly happened and what that might mean in the future, how to look at it. It's not ideal that there was, no statistical significance in hair growth. It's not ideal, but he kind of broke down the reasons as to why piralutamide may have been the case. So for those who don't know what piralutamide is, it is a drug that doesn't work like finasteride. Finasteride is a 5-AR inhibitor, which pretty much stops testosterone from turning into DHT, which we know is a cause for male pattern thinning, which is why, from what I believe, I don't know exactly 100%, but I think the efficacy rate of finasteride, from what I've just quickly Googled, is about 90%. So, just reducing DHT, it's pretty much why it is the gold standard drug for hair loss right now, finasteride as well as minoxidil. There's a lot of new drugs coming out into the market right now, piralutamide being one of them. However, the way piralutamide works is it actually doesn't stop or inhibit the 5-alpha reductase, which is, transforming testosterone into DHT. It actually stops the androgen receptor from absorbing androgens. Now, I think it was supposed to be stopping DHT from binding to the androgen receptor, but from what I've sort of listening to Kevin from Hair Cafe, and I could be completely wrong, it may also be blocking all androgens to the hair receptor, which may not be ideal because there is a receptor for a reason. And, there's also links showing that testosterone is actually a benefit for hair regrowth. And he kind of breaks it down in the video about, the phase 3 piralutamide trials and, how testosterone can actually cause hair growth. And I'm not going to get into it because I would call myself self-educated, but he is by far a wizard. He is the hair witcher. He is the man. So he's actually a very good person to look into. So if you are interested in hair loss, I definitely look him up. But my thoughts about piralutamide, I kind of knew that I just thought it was going to be too good to be true, and it just seems to be that way. It's upsetting because I would love to use something other than finasteride. I don't use finasteride. I just kind of want to stay away from finasteride. If I could use something that doesn't necessarily change testosterone or stop testosterone from turning into DHT, and there's like the side effect profile about low libido, sex drive, blah blah. I'm not going to get into all that, but it's stuff that I don't want, and I've made the decision personally that I don't want to go down that road. And if there's other drugs that I think would give me a better peace of mind, I'd rather go down that road. But at this point in time, I'm going to stick with, not doing anything, just trying to be healthy. I'm quite happy with the way I'm looking right now. So, yeah, moving on. So, that's the piralutamide phase 3 trials. That was probably so anticlimactic for you guys who are listening. Probably wanted a bit more in-depth analysis. But, yeah, I just don't want to kind of give my input into something that I'm not fully... I don't fully understand, even though I have a huge interest in the hair loss, especially because I do suffer from male pattern baldness. I think it's just very interesting. And I probably will make more of an effort to understand how or why certain drugs work and, eventually get to the same level as the Witcher himself, which is Kevin from Hair Cafe. But, I think if you are interested, definitely look that guy up. He's super, super interesting. So let's get into the Reddit stories. So I went down the Reddit rabbit hole, and this is the topic. This is the question. And it was called, what's the quickest way you saw a coworker get fired? That piqued my interest straight away. I need to know. I love a bit of drama. So let's get into it. So here we go. So in my old law office, a firm-wide email was sent out announcing the new arrival of a new employee. We'll call him Paul. So Paul decided to reply all to let all of us know that he was aware of our recent legal defeats, that many people should be fired for these failures, and that his hiring was the first good thing our firm had done in years. Fucking hell. This dude was a legal assistant right out of college with no experience. A minute after the email went out, I heard a crazy shout and then watched one of the senior partners run past my office towards HR. And 5 minutes later, Paul walked out with the HR manager and a security escort. He lasted less than 45 minutes. I've got a few things to say. First of all, the balls on this guy to just send an email throughout the whole firm saying this was the first good thing that the firm had done was to hire him. Like, who is this guy? He's a legal assistant who has no idea about anything really about, I would say, the legal system, looking at his position, saying this is the best thing that you could have done was to hire me because I'm the best. The fucking balls on this guy. Like, I'll give credit to him. Like, no, I'm not going to give credit to this guy. Like, holy crap, that's fucking crazy. And like a minute after, I heard a crazy shout and then watched the scene. Like, I just can't believe, I can't imagine a scenario where that would happen, where he would go, you know what would be a good idea? If I just sent out an email saying, these people need to be fired. Like, what went through his brain that went, fuck, you know what? If I send an email saying that these people need to be fired, I'm probably going to be promoted to senior partner. That's for sure going to happen. Fucking clueless, this guy. And then he went, you know what would be better? To say that this was the best thing that this company has done since, was to hire me because I'm the best. At what? Getting fired in 45 minutes? You nailed it, mate. You did it. You fucking did it, mate. Fired in less than 45 minutes. That is actually crazy. Like, I'm glad that he kind of did get fired because, holy, if someone got away with something like that at any company, I think that's just crazy. Crazy. Some of the comments are crazy too. He's like, what a D-bag. You just don't understand Paul. Paul was built different. Not well, just different. Oh my God. He was looking for a fight and he went down swinging. Went down swinging hard. There's a couple other good ones in here. So let's go down the rabbit hole. So I was working at a Denny's. They hired a new manager. They were onboarding her for her first day. Then I never saw her again and nobody had ever mentioned her. After a couple of days, I asked what happened to her. I figured out she was working a different shift. I figured she was working a different shift or she had possibly gotten COVID. Nope. They had caught her smoking crack on camera. That's a fucking quick way to get fired, for sure. Here we go, another one. I worked at a lotteries company. A guy working in testing got access to production data and printed off some test tickets and some unclaimed winning numbers. He only did low amounts like 500 and claimed 3 of them in 3 completely different locations around town. Of course, the company was really, really interested in the story of someone who found a 6-month-old lottery ticket and claimed it. But they were even more interested to find that it was the same person going to 3 locations. Needless to say, when they realized the guy actually worked in the company, he got pulled into a room with cops awaiting him. Mate, you're not screwing the system. Like, I don't know. That's just absolutely mental. There's a whole list of these crazy stories, but yeah, the lawyer one really got me. I thought that was just crazy. I still think about that and I go, like, I can't believe someone would actually say something like that. That's absolutely mental. All right. Next topic. So I was at a Christmas party last night and I feel like I started a civil war within the company at this point. So the topic of question it was kind of like an overrated or underrated, but this was more like, what would you choose in between? So the topic was, if you could choose sweet potato fries or potato fries. I'm going to leave this to the listeners. To you guys out there, I want to know, if you had a choice between eating sweet potatoes for the rest of your life or eating normal potatoes for the rest of your life, which one would you guys choose? And let me tell you, if you guys choose sweet potato fries, just unfollow the channel. Just unfollow the channel. Like, look, I love a good sweet potato fry, but for people who choose a sweet potato fry over the delicious, by far more versatile chip being the original potato chip. And let me explain to you why. Because a sweet potato chip is always sweet. A normal chip can be sweet and savory. And that's what gives it the edge for me. I'm not saying I don't like a sweet potato chip, but the normal potato chip is the way to go. And I think the war that I absolutely created within the company of people who like sweet potato chips over normal chips and people who like normal chips over sweet potato chips was actually crazy. Like, I'm surprised the brawl didn't break out. at this point. I was actually dumbfounded. I couldn't believe. I remember sitting in the chair going, "Oh, I started something and I can't control this now. This is going crazy." And anyway, yeah, didn't go that crazy, but might as well exaggerate the story a little bit, right? Create a bit of drama. So the other thing I kind of wanted to talk about was, this is going to be a very short episode, actually. I thought it was going to be a lot longer. But anyway, so the next thing I kind of wanted to touch on was, a 2023 recap. But I was going to talk about the Black Friday sales because I actually, you know what? I'm going to talk about the Black Friday sales because I have a bone to pick with a lot of Australian companies, or if not all Australian companies. Okay? Let me explain why. When I hear a Black Friday sale, I'm expecting crazy sales. I'm expecting 80% off, 75% off from like absolutely mental, like things that will never be on sale. Just an absolute steal, pretty much. Like, because in America, when you hear Black Friday sales, you hear the stories, people going absolutely crazy, lining up the night before so they can get $2,000 TVs for $400. You know what I mean? Like the the sales in America for the Black Friday sales are insane. And then I thought, fuck, if the sales are like that here in Australia, hopefully I can get something as well. Because I myself have been looking at potentially upgrading my PC because it's starting to die. But I really don't want to buy a new PC if I don't have to, because PCs are very expensive. So I'm trying my best to just kind of absolutely hold this PC as long as I can before I absolutely have to bite the bullet. But I figured if Black Friday, any PC companies, Australian PC companies have good Black Friday deals, then surely I'll be able to pick something up, like a relatively good graphics card or something, or even just a pre-built PC for relatively cheap. I think the best sale that I saw for some of the graphics card was like 20%. And that's like, okay, 20% is a good discount, but it's not a Black Friday discount. It's not an 80% discount. That's what I was expecting. Maybe I shouldn't have been expecting that. Maybe I should have just been expecting, a 20% or a 30%. There were other websites that were advertising 70%. There were clothing stores that were advertising 70%. But when I clicked onto these stores and I was looking at some of the clothing, it was always like socks, 70% off. Like, okay, socks are great. Don't get me wrong. But like, I'd like to get some pretty hectic, gym pants that I know that you sell for $60 and get them for like $12. That would be great. But that didn't happen. All their good shit was like 10%, maybe 20% off. But all their like products that don't really sell that well, or, are very hard to sell, they were the products that were 70, 80% off. And I was just thinking, I shouldn't be surprised at this point that is the case. But I was very disappointed. I didn't buy anything throughout the Black Friday sales because the stuff that I wanted wasn't really on sale. And the stuff that I really wanted was just still too expensive. Like, I was hoping if there was a pre-built, obviously I'm not expecting a pre-built PC that's $2,000 go down to $400. I'm not expecting that. But if it was a pre-built PC that was $2,000, it's going for like $1,100, like that's 45% off. That's a good deal. That's a really good deal. I would have bought that. That's exactly what I would have done. But that wasn't the case for the Black Friday sales in Sydney. I don't know what it was like in America, so I don't know if they had the crazy sales, which I'm assuming that they did have the crazy sales. But yeah, I'm very disappointed. So if anyone's listening, I guess, which, all my 4 listeners on Spotify who are listening, hopefully something can happen. But anyway, so last thing I'm probably going to talk about is just do like a 2023 recap on, my year so far for 2023. And probably the biggest thing for me this year was, the podcast, the fact that I've been very, very consistent with the podcast and really trying to stay consistent as much as I can. I really do enjoy doing the podcast. I really enjoy working on it. I really enjoy recording. I enjoy the feedback that I get from people who do listen to the podcast. And I'd much rather be doing this than be doing what I was doing before, which was, sitting on my ass on TikTok or, really not progressing in any way or improving on anything. And I guess one of the key takeaways that I've gotten this year after doing this is to, try and stay consistent as much as I can and really push myself and, try and, not fall down the rabbit hole like what, because it happened to me a couple of times this year where I went back down where I was again watching TikTok for hours and I wasn't really spending the time that I wanted, but I got myself out of that hole. And every time I do that, I feel so much better when I work on something. That probably made absolutely no sense to anyone listening to that, but I guess that's what kind of happens when you're talking to yourself in front of a camera. So shit just tends not to make sense. So the podcast was a big one. I had, going to Thailand was another big one as well. That was heaps of fun. My wife and I, we went to Thailand for, I think it was just under 2 weeks. We went over to Phuket, we went to Koh Samui, and then we went to Bangkok. Honestly, Bangkok for me was super underrated. I was expecting to be like not impressed with Bangkok. I thought it was super impressive. I wish I spent more time in Bangkok because it was just amazing, the city. Like it was mental. I wish I stayed there for a lot longer. I loved Phuket. And I loved Koh Samui as well. I would go back to those places and probably do different things while I'm there, but I would want to spend more time in Bangkok. That was honestly, it was a great. I do recommend Thailand. I think it's a great holiday destination. The tickets to fly there for people who are thinking about flying there, they're not cheap. So I think when we bought tickets, it was about over $2,000 per person return. And that was with Singapore Airlines. So, it wasn't exactly cheap, but it was worth it. We had a great, great time. What else happened this year for 2023? Oh, yeah, TikTok kind of blew up a little bit when I hit over 800,000 views on one of my TikTok videos. That was super crazy. I was hoping to reach one of my goals for the podcast, which I sort of did hit one, which was to stay super consistent with the podcast. I really wanted to every fortnight at least release an episode. I wanted to give podcasting a good crack and see how well I could go. And I felt like I hit that goal. That was one thing I really wanted to do. But the other goal was I wanted to progressively increase the amount of people listening and the amount of people watching my YouTube videos. And I actually found that there was a bit of a decline, but I think that is to be expected because I think a lot of people at the start want to show their support, which I'm very appreciative of anyone who's listening, especially if you listen this far into the podcast or this far into the video. That's absolutely crazy. Like I really do thank you for listening and taking the time out of your day to listen to me. It's actually crazy. But I forgot what I was even talking about. It was So one of my goals I hit was to stay consistent, but the other goal was to try increase the views and increase the amount of listens that I was getting through the podcast. I didn't hit that goal. It actually went in the opposite direction. But I think next year I've got to focus on doing more marketing. I've got to focus on actually getting attention for people to try and listen to this podcast. And that's why at the start of this video, I kind of want to ask you guys, what content would you guys like to listen to? Or what content do you guys like that I do and I can do more of? Because I do want to enjoy the content that I release. Like I do enjoy reading stories. I do enjoy doing a bit of a reaction videos here and there, which is something I want to keep doing. But, finding that type of content can be trying to find like a needle in a haystack sometimes because I'm very picky about the content that I want to talk about. But yeah, so that's that part of, that's a goal for me next year is to try and increase the views, increase the interaction with everyone. But TikTok's been doing really well. I've had a couple of good videos, especially that one with over 800,000 views. That was crazy. What else? I changed companies. So that was a big deal for me. That was something that I was really, really nervous about when I was going through the whole process about jumping different companies, because I had previously, the company that I was at before, I was really, really happy working there. And for me, I just felt a little bit too comfortable where I was. I didn't feel like I was moving forward, and I felt like my ceiling was quite low. And I just wanted to kind of see what my options were out there. And then I found the company where I'm at right now. And I am happy that I've made the decision to move to this company now that I've been here for over 6 months. It's a great company to work for, great benefits and everything. So I really, find that it's not only that, it's given me, I guess, that discomfort, and it's not a good discomfort. It's more of a, I have something to strive for now. I want to be better. I want to do these, hit my goals, and I want to move up in the company corporate ladder, and I want to do all those things. Not everyone wants to do that, and I understand, but for me, that's what I wanted, and this is what that company provides, and it rewards people who work hard and work smart, which is fantastic, which is something that I'm looking forward to. So yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it there. There's probably a few other crazy things that's happened this year that I haven't written down that I probably should be aware of. But, that's why I'm starting the podcast. Well, I probably should listen to the podcast. Listen to my podcast. Maybe I'd have some key topics. But yeah, I've had a lot of fun. And yeah, I'm probably going to wrap it up here. So if you have stayed this long, Jesus Christ, good on you guys. But fuck. No, I'm kidding. Thank you for listening and staying this long into the episode. It really does mean a lot. If you do like the video and you do, like the audio podcast, if you can like and subscribe or follow me on my Spotify channel, like and subscribe onto my YouTube channel, like my video, that'd be huge help. It does push the channel a long way. The more people who interact with the video, the more likely other people are going to see it. So I do appreciate, any share, anything like that would be very, very much appreciated. I know I'm only a very small person, but I am planning. I do want to take this seriously. I do want to take this to the next level. I would like to chase this, and I would like to try and make something out of it. But I know it's going to be hard work, and I think with your support, I will get there. So yeah. And what else? I have an Instagram. I have a TikTok. So if you want to go there and see other, keep up with the content, keep up with the podcast, I am trying to post a bit more regularly on my stories now, just so I can have some content just constantly going. But yeah, so with that being said, I'll see you guys at the next episode. Peace out.